kids, welcome back to Roto Talk.
Alright, welcome back. Second time on Friday. There might even be a third one if we can get this pig to maiden today. So, basics. Oh, I need to charge my battery. Let me do that. Hang on. We got that cooking. Now, first things first, what did I do with that? Oh, for God's sake. You know, most of my videos start out that way. What did I do with that? So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to put on our turn fin. So if you bought the deluxe kit or whatever, advanced deluxe, you're going to get this awesome turn fin that Joe made. These are a lot nicer than they used to be. No offense, Joe, but good job, brother. I polished this. So it was already sharpened, it was already chamfered, and I did a high-speed polish on it for about 20 minutes, just really getting it. I didn't change anything. I just polished it, just got it nice and tight. So now all we're going to do is attach it. Now I need to get this tape off of here. Alright, so we just need to clean this up, bolt this up. So we're going to take our 3 bolts, and they all have lock nuts, which is nice. You don't have to mess around with Loctite. Okay, put a washer on each one. Do the first one. Okay. The pin's going to go to the inside of the machine, not the outside. Okay. Same. Follow suit. Jeez. Been a busy day. Did that other video for you guys that just now is posting. And then painted the bottom of the skiff. So hopefully get the top of that pig done tomorrow. It's going to be sweet. Alright. So there we go. Now, there is no accurate bench setting, in my opinion. You guys have heard me talk about in the past. Are these metric? Joe? You've heard me talk about this stuff in the past. And, what was I going to say? I said something about the past. I don't know. Man, what size is this? Alright, whatever. I'll get the right size. You hear me talking about in the past, the bench settings. Oh, this is the maiden on bench settings. So I just set everything where I think it should be, and then I tweak from there. With a turn fin, I usually just start up and down, straight up, 90, okay? Sometimes I start a little kicked forward, just a touch. And we'll talk about turn fins later. I asked Scott from M5 Performance over there. We all know Scott. If you watch me, I'm sure you watch him. He actually knows what he's doing. I asked him to do a video on turn fin styles, like vertical versus straight edge angle versus curved angle. And he's like, oh, that's a touchy topic and people might get bent out of shape. And I'm like, this dude knows more about boats, and he's forgot more about boats than we do. And it bothers me because he's basically referring to forums and old school racers. Like, that's not a good turn fin, rah, rah, rah. Like I'm not a forum guy, as you guys know. And kind of pisses me off. It's like, who gives a shit if it's a touchy topic? You don't have to even say which one's best. Just go, and this isn't a dig at you, Scott, if you're watching. This is just a whole, this is why you do it this way, this is why you do it that way, and people's feelings get hurt too fucking bad. So I'm going to go find the right damn bolt, or Allen for that, and find my strut gauge. I'll be right back. Alright, so I mounted our fin with a little bit of kick forward. Just a little. And that's just for testing. It's definitely going to change, I'm sure. Now, the next thing we do. These solid carbon tubes are the exact same length. That's a bad thing. Your front one needs to be a touch shorter, okay? Remember that. So, we're going to slide these through our fancy dancy stand here. and all we're going to do is split the odds. We're going to find the halfway point in between both of them, right? So if I remember right, like, so if you took the tub at 3 1/4 and took this, subtracted it, and divided it by half, 17. Okay, so like in this case, you've got, let's just pull it to 8 1/2. It's not gonna be bigger now. And that's 8, so it tells me that's an 8 1/4. 8 1/4. Okay, that's the golden child. Now we take our boom collars, 8 1/4. Of course, the screws aren't in them. See, Jason? Pay attention. Pay attention. It's all right. You do not need to Loctite these, by the way. Acts like a spring clamp. He'd be all right. So I'm going to lock this down. Okay. Put one there. Make sure it's nice and tight against the hull. The tub, sorry. Same thing with this guy. I have not torqued them down yet, so I want to double check my measurements. I said 8 1/4. Alright. Make sure we're still there. This is important. 8 1/4 on the dot. 8 1/4 on the dot. Okay, so very important. So now we're going to do the same measurement up top. Oh, I always end up with extra screws. All right. Oh, it's about ready to hit the water. All right. It's down so you can see. So we're going to go ahead and do 8 1/4 here. Should be the same. Now, most people that run riggers, most, not all, 8 1/4. It's going to be a touch difference. Actually, I kind of like it like that. 8 1/4 on the nut, and this one's 8 1/8. So I don't even have to trim this. I don't know why. Maybe it was just luck. And I'll explain that in a minute. But anyway, most people that run or that would build one of these, most, not all. I mean, you guys know I always say it, I don't race. I'm not a racer. Never have been. Okay? So those guys get really anal about toe in and stuff. I don't. I just do what Joe told me, and that's about it. So now we're going to put I'm going to put a drop of lube on here. Just helps the process. We're going to be drilling through these here. Okay. Make sure they're both bottomed out. Now, you want to make sure you're you can have toe in. Toe in is this. Like when you're trying to slow down snow skiing, okay? That's toe in. You do not want toe out. That's a bad day. So, this one is 7 1/4 to the edge. This one is 7 1/4 to the edge. Okay, so I know we're good there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this and drill. Okay, then we're going to put our bolt through there. Then we're going to make the exact same thing. I pre-drilled these sleeves before we glued them in. I'm going to bolt this one in first. I'm going to remeasure, make sure they're exactly the same. Then the other side we'll get to. I'll be right back. 7 1/4, 7 1/4, absolutely perfect. So what I do, he does supply bolts with these. I just can't be bothered. I like my metric stuff, so we're just going to put it in. Now, as usual, I try to make every single hole undersized. That way the odds of things rattling loose or getting wet and gooey, very minimalized. Think about that whenever you're building anything, whether it's a rigger or whatever. Anytime you punch a hole in that hull, try to make it undersized if you can. It only helps. Okay. Now, I realized I screwed up on my stand. I didn't think. I didn't leave room for the collars, so I'm going to have to open this stand up. That's easy. No big deal. So, on the other side, you want to start with your toe in on the right-hand side of any rigger, starboard side, okay? You want the toe in to be about a 16th for starting. You may need to bring it in more. Okay, that's fine. But toe in is important on a rigger. Very important. And a hydro, normal hydro. I don't worry about it as much with a normal hydro. But, so, with this seated, make sure you're seated all the way. Ooh, okay. Now, we're going to measure. Normally I have to trim these. So that one's 7 1/4. It's supposed to be. And that one is 7 1/4. So I am going to have to cut this. So I'm going to take my Dremel with my disc. It is important to do this. Okay? And I'm going to cut off about a 16th. Right on that rod. Then I'm going to drill this, make sure this one's seated. Then push this one over, drill it in. I'll show you what I mean. Be right back. Right, so I trimmed this one back about 1/8 of an inch. So more than a 16th. And we are better too much than too little. All right, 7 1/4 there. And if I pull this guy in, I have 7 1/8 there. I'll run with that. We'll see what happens. Worst case scenario, I bring it out a little bit, but no big thing. Okay? So, and then, whilst we're off film, I'm going to open up my stand. I can't believe I forgot that. Oh well, what do you want for homemade? So, I will drill these through. I'll be right back. So, what I ended up doing, I modified the stand, so I'm not looking like a total moron. Let's see. I'm going to put a zip strip around the rudder tubing. So we're getting ready to run this thing. Battery's charged. We're good. Okay. But this is a fairly small tube. Not tube, but the rudder side. I don't trust those. Okay. There we go. That's copacetic. I use that word a lot. Alright. All the water lines are good. Sponsons are nice and tight. The strut I did tighten up, but I just tightened it flat against the ski. I did not use the strut gauge yet. I'm curious just to see how... I've never built an R4 rigger before. I've built all the other ones, but I've never built this particular one. So I want to see how it handles just flat and flush against the ski. Now, I have not checked the balance of this prop. I need to do that. Okay, so, but before we do that, we're going to lube this shaft. Okay. Cool. If this excites any of you, turn it off. Okay. Brand new tube. What I do is I put it in, pull it back out. Do it again. With a brand new setup. Do it twice. Okay. Perfect. Now we're going to tighten that old collet up. Torque the hell out of it. You guys have heard me say that about gas boats. So I'm not going to lie, I went down and ran the boat. It tracked perfect. It ran perfect. It had no water in. You can see it's wet. Had no water inside whatsoever. Dry as a bone. Worked great, except the battery's completely trash. It was trash before we put it in there, and it's a 4S. It's only running 3S and barely. So it was doing about 10 miles an hour. Here's a clip. Fish. Floats. All right. So yeah, we have to wait for our good batteries. But other than that, it tested out. Everything worked great. She's going to be a beast once we get some good batteries in here. So until probably Monday for this boat, but you'll be seeing videos this weekend. But this boat, so far I'm happy as a clam with it. Don't get me wrong, worked great, but just so slow. This boat should be 65, 70 miles an hour at minimum, and it was running about 10. So yeah, that battery is gone. So anyway, kids, until the next time, keep dry side up. Bye.
Rage hard.
It's light.
Rage hard.
Doing it right. Doing it right.
Rage hard.
Against the dark.
Rage hard.
Make your mark. Let the tournament.